I call to order the Lake Mills Plan Commission meeting of April 23rd, and we can proceed with roll call, please.
Mr. Holman?
Here.
Mr. Coots?
Here.
Ms. Lazaris?
Here.
Mr. Greedy?
Here.
Ms. Curler?
Here.
Mr. Foster? Dr. Mason?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item number 3, correction and/or acceptance of the meeting minutes of February 27. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve. Mr. Holman.
Mr. Coots will second the motion.
Okay. Mr. Holman moved and Mr. Coos seconded to approve the minutes of February 27th. Any discussion? All those? In that case, we'll go with a roll call vote on that. Okay. We can proceed. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Ms. Lazaris?
Aye.
Mr. Greedy?
Abstain.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Dr. Mason?
Abstain.
Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. The next item, item number 4, questions and public comment. The public may address the commission at this time regarding items on the agenda unless the item is the subject of a public hearing. If your comments pertain to a public hearing, please hold your comments until the hearing. We do have one public hearing this evening, item number 5, proposed project plan and boundary for tax increment financing district number 9. Public comment may also be made at this time on items that are not on the agenda if you have registered with the city clerk before the meeting. The state's open meeting law discourages action by the commission on items not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments limited to 3 minutes, state your name and address, and fill out the sign-in sheet at the podium. For people online, please follow the Zoom link or the phone number listed on the Plan Commission agenda. Are there any public comments at this time? And is there anyone commenting online? All right. Hearing none, then we go on to item number 5, public hearing, proposed project plan and boundary for tax increment financing district number 9. And before we, I'd like to start by asking for Mr. Wolf and Mr. Daly to provide the overview of this proposed tax increment financing district.
Mr. Daly deferred to me, so thank you. This is, again, a proposed TID number 9. They are all numbered sequentially. This proposed TID would be an industrial TID. On the screen, you can see the proposed boundaries. I will hit some high points here, but certainly can go into any detail as requested. So this TID here really is the industrial park area. There used to be TID number 2 that was created many years ago and closed a few years back. That was to create the original industrial park. As I mentioned, that is closed. We do have TID number 6, which is generally the area south of American Way and kind of east of CP Avenue as it kind of would curl around. So that TID is still in existence, TID number 6. It has JMEC in it and Horizon. Really, those are kind of the two big elements in there. That TID was created many years ago when there was an APC packaging corporation that was being proposed in this area, and so a TID was put into place because of some of the infrastructure improvements there. So this is not proposing to close TID number 6, it is proposing to overlay TID number 6. And so all those blue properties or purplish properties as you see there, it really would extend up Enterprise Drive and up Industrial Drive to include a number of vacant properties that are in the industrial park. Tax incremental financing is the most powerful tool that Wisconsin municipalities have for economic development, for incentivizing development, for addressing a variety of issues from infrastructure related to site preparation to development incentives themselves. So it is a pretty large area. It does extend southward. South of the Drumlin Trail includes some properties that are currently owned by the school district, but it would extend over to Highway 89 or South Main Street, as you can see there. And I'll explain in a second as to why the district is designed as such. If you are following on your tablets or in the document itself, I'm going to ask you to flip back to page number 5, which is the 12% test. This is a statutory test. I'm going to try to make this big enough so everybody can see. Scroll through it. So the 12% test effectively says that any municipality may not have more than 12% of their total equalized value tied up in tax increment financing. So the city's equalized value is about $900 million, as you see there. The 12% of that would be $108 million. So that is, as you'll see here, and then table number 2, I'm hoping everybody can see this well, provide a listing of all of the active tax increment districts in the community. So we have TIDs 3 through 8 are still active. And you can see in parentheses under the district, that's when they were approved or when they commenced. Some as old as 2006, some as recent as 2021, for a variety of different types of projects. Some are industrial, some are mixed use, some are redevelopment. But you can see that they have been very successful. They have resulted in new value of $68 million that would not have otherwise likely occurred without the use of TID. But it shows you that we are only at about 7.5% of our total capacity tied up in TIF. So this next table is really just a mathematical exercise. It is showing you that the assessed values of TID number 9 is about $10 million. JMEC and Horizon are in this development, so those are very large existing projects. They take up a lot of value. And then, as I'd mentioned, a number of vacant parcels are included. But should this TID be approved and by the Plan Commission and the City Council and ultimately the Joint Review Board, you would still have a remaining TID capacity of about just under $30 million, which is 3% under the 12% test. We certainly don't want to see us flirting with the 12%, but it is not uncommon for communities when they have successful TIDs to get into that 8, 9, 10% range. I'll even go back here again. TID number 3 and TID number 4 are really scheduled to close within the next couple years. So then again, you will see that 12% capacity would again increase when those come off the books in a few years. It's important to note that this TID would be an industrial TID, which means that 51% of the land is intended to remain industrial for the life of the TID. That would be a 20-year period. It doesn't have to remain open for 20 years. That is a council decision. Ultimately, it can be closed at any time when there are no outstanding debts within it. I'll have you scroll down to page 19 of the document. I'm sorry for people trying to watch this. This is the project map, and the city staff, in working with Strand Associates, the city's consulting engineer, put together this project map. The blue outline that you see there is the proposed project boundary. It's important to note, as I said, why is it extending down to Highway 89? The principal project, the key project that would be undertaken as a part of this TID would be the completion or extension of CP Avenue south of the Glacial Drumlin Trail, tying into Unshaven Lane. Unshaven Lane is right now just a driveway for St. Paul's Church. Ultimately, this would be constructed with an urban cross-section and connecting out to Highway 89. This is an important access point, southern access to the industrial park. As you know, to get into the industrial park right now, you need to drive through the community, through downtown, and around and access it from the north. It's not the most efficient if you're coming from the south or heading to the south. But this has always been a priority project for the community for at least the last 14, 15 years. So with that, kind of showing why we're extending to 89, There are other projects, some resurfacing projects that could be undertaken, bike and pedestrian improvement projects that could be undertaken within the district. There are a number of wetlands within the TID. There might be the need to mitigate some wetland filling that would occur with new industrial development. It's important to understand that the city doesn't have any other new industrial land available. So infilling, I'll say, these vacant industrial properties is very important, but these are the more challenging industrial properties to develop. They do have isolated wetland pockets that need to be filled. There's a cost associated with doing that. But again, this use of TID is a mechanism that could help kind of level the playing field for future development to incentivize them to locate in these more challenging sites. The other boundary I'm going to highlight there is an orange boundary. That's showing a half a mile around the proposed TID district. It's an important boundary because a municipality is required to undertake projects within the TID or within a half a mile of the TID that benefits the TID. And so there are a couple projects that the city could potentially undertake that are important projects. The extension of American Way to Harvey, completion of that roadway. Obviously, that's of great benefit to the residential development there, but it is also another eastern access to the industrial park itself. So that's certainly a project that could be undertaken. There is a detailed list of the projects in Table 4. It's a little challenging to see, with costs that have been developed by City Public Works and consulting engineers, Strand Associates. Won't run through them, but those are the detailed list of projects that could be undertaken. It is important to understand that because a project is listed here, it does not mean it will absolutely happen. All decision-making on projects, if this TID is created, is subject to approval by the City Council. City Council is a decision maker here on any of this. The project plan could certainly be amended in the future to add more projects that aren't specifically enumerated here. We do call out a variety of potential projects that could occur associated with new development, ranging from grading, wetland filling, could be placemaking elements like lighting, signage and such. Again, there's a litany of things that could be undertaken. Development incentives are highlighted as potential. Again, those are evaluated in conjunction with the city's financial consultant and a development agreement that would go hand in hand with that, should any development incentives be decided to be an expenditure here. It's a lot, I realize. Our development assumptions here on page 23. We are projecting the potential expansion of a couple industrial projects within the existing industrial users within the industrial park itself. And then we are looking at some residential development, multifamily development that has been planned for a long time on the south side of Wallace Park, and then a potential industrial project south of the Light and Water Building. That is land owned by the city, 14 odd acres, that could potentially happen in the future. Again, a little crystal balling here, but projects would not be undertaken unless increment is being generated. This is evaluated by the city council. And if any, like as I mentioned, if any projects are undertaken, it would probably be in conjunction with a specific development project, so you know what increment would be generated over time. There are details related to the potential pro forma on what it could generate on an increment. Would you like me to go into those details or at this time, or would you like to wait for discussion items?
I think we could wait for a discussion
Okay.
and let's see how things unfold.
Okay, so it is in the opinion of the staff that the but-for test here is met. because but for the use of TID, development would have already occurred within the development. You can see that it's been very stagnant as of late, just because these aren't perfect greenfield developments, right? There are issues with either infrastructure needs or wetland mitigation issues, because there's a lot of high groundwater and silty and loamy soils out there. So in our opinion, the but for is met. This is something that certainly we will discuss. There's a resolution associated with this, but you would also have to agree to that as well. And I'll put it back on the map if there are any questions from the public hearing.
All right. We are still in public hearing. If anyone would like to speak about this proposed tax increment financing district, then please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and also write your name and address for the record. Would anyone like to make a comment at this time? We are in public hearing. Would anyone like to comment on the proposed tax increment financing district? Are there any comments on this proposed tax increment financing district? All right, hearing none, then we go into item number 6, Plan Commission Resolution 24-1, Proposed Project Plan and Boundary for Tax Increment Financing District Number 9. Planning Commissioners, before us, we do have Resolution 24-1, approving boundary and project plan for tax increment financing district number 9. This motion sets forth the city's determination that tax increment financing is needed to promote development and redevelopment. The city's proposal for tax increment financing district number 9 as an industrial district. The Plan Commission's tax increment financing district number 9 project plan, which includes a listing of the kind, number, and location of proposed public works or improvements. B, an economic feasibility study. C, estimated project costs. D, methods and timing of financing. E, a map showing existing uses and conditions. G, proposed changes as to zoning, master plan, map, building codes, and ordinances. H, estimated non-project costs. I, proposed plan for any relocation of persons to be displaced. J, statement as to how the creation of the district promotes the orderly development of the city. K, proposed project costs, including cash payments to owners, lessees, or developers. L, statement of the city that the city may undertake projects within territory located within 1/2 mile of the district boundary. M, attorney's opinion that the plan is complete and complies with section 66-11054F of the Wisconsin State Statutes. This motion also sets forth that project costs may include cash grants to owners, lessees, or developers within the tax increment financing district, or may include projects within the district boundary within 1/2 mile of the district. This motion sets forth tonight's public hearing, and that notice was sent to the other taxing jurisdictions in which the proposed district is located, namely Jefferson County, the school district, and the Tech College district. This motion does provide for a Plan Commission recommendation to City Council to approve the boundary and project plan of tax increment financing district number 9. Also setting forth that, number 1, tax increment district number 9 boundaries are in map 1 of this plan. 2, not less than 50% of the real property in the district meets the statutory definition of industrial sites and is owned for industrial use under section 66-1101 Wisconsin State Statutes. 3, the district is declared to be an industrial district. 4, the equalized value of the taxable property of the district plus the value increment of all existing districts does not exceed 12% of the total equalized value of taxable property within the city. 5, the boundaries of tax increment financing district number 9 will not include territory that was not within the boundary of the city of Lake Mills on January 1, 2004, and where less than 3 years have elapsed since the territory was annexed. 6, the percentage of territory within the district devoted to retail business by the end of the expenditure period will be less than 35%. 7, improvement of the area is likely to significantly enhance the real property value in the area, and that development would not occur but for the tax increment financing district creation. 8, project costs outlined in the project plan relate directly to promoting industrial development, and the economic benefits are sufficient to compensate for the cost. 9, benefits outweigh the anticipated tax increments to be paid by the district's property owners. 10, the date of the tax increment financing district number 9 is effective January 1, 2024. 11, the project plan of the district is feasible and promotes orderly development in the city in conformity with the comprehensive plan. 12, the project plan and boundary for the district is recommended for approval by the City Council pursuant to the provisions of Section 66-11054G of Wisconsin State Statutes. So that is what this resolution is it contains. And is there discussion before anyone entertains this a motion concerning this resolution? Are there some discussion and questions that we have? And Ms. Curler.
I have a few questions. One is, I note that the effective date is listed as January 1st of this year, so that's already in the past. Could you just clarify that and how that impacts potential projects?
Absolutely. So districts are always effective as of January 1 of a certain year.
Okay.
The state, specifically Department of Revenue, has established that if the statutory process is completed prior to October 31st, the effective date will be January 1 of the current year. If it follows that, it would be January 1 of the next year. Really what that gets into is kind of timing of what land values could potentially be. The timing of this is that we want to have it available as of January 1 of this year for anyone who's putting shovels into the ground yet this year. The district itself is actually kind of approved, and decisions can be made after the city council approves it. But then there is still a joint review board that would happen after that yet. So that would be somewhere later in May.
Thank you. A couple more on the extension of CP Avenue. It looks like one of the maps showed a potential route for that, and it does, one corner of it, turning onto Unshaven, is outside the boundary of this TID, I'm assuming outside the city limits. So how would that get accomplished if, part of the route of the street is outside the city limits?
So we would define the boundary to include the south side of that right-of-way when the boundary description has not been written yet. It's a meets and bounds description. We don't write that right away because it is a little intensive to write that detailed legal description. And the Plan Commission, the City Council, and the Joint Review Board all can change the boundary as a part of their approval process. So the final boundary will include the south side of the right-of-way.
Well, so let me clarify my question. So I think there was another map, if you stay where you are on the screen here, but there was another map that showed the extension of CP Avenue, and it would extend just south of that boundary going into the town of Lake Mills and then coming west, if I read that correctly. So there's a part of CP Avenue extended and Unshaven that's not in the city limits. And so I was just trying to understand how we would be able to extend the road there. Yeah, that's the other one.
There may be costs associated with the project that have to be undertaken without using TIF funds because they aren't within the city limits. We are trying to show the project, I guess it's in its entirety, but yes, there is right-of-way that may have to be acquired separately. There are elements of the project that may have to be undertaken just due to statutory limitations. But we were trying to show completeness of the
Okay.
roadway.
Okay, thank you. And staying down in that area, I know at the Joint Review Board, the school district brought up a question that I just think is good for all of us to understand. So the establishment of this TID does not by itself create any changes in how properties are zoned, right? But it also doesn't preclude, something from being rezoned if appropriate, as a project might move forward.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Creation of a district does not impact zoning, it does not impact current use, it does not impact taxes. The property still, in this case that you're talking about, is owned by the school district. It is still zoned as such that they can use it for their school purposes. It has been included because of potential infrastructure projects that would certainly benefit school district property, as some of the infrastructure projects could benefit other private property within the district.
Okay, and one last question I have. I was curious about several of the items on the project list. I think the first several involved gravel paths that could be upgraded to asphalt. And it occurred to me that some of those, that could be for pedestrian bicycle use. And I know the Public Works Board is looking at trying to find bicycle routes from Brookstone, toward the downtown. So is that part of what these projects might help accomplish some of our goals in our bicycle plan?
Absolutely. We do have a section in here that talks about how does creation of the TID promote the orderly development of the community. That is certainly one of the mechanisms, is by providing not just infrastructure that benefits the development of land or vehicle travel, but also non-motorized mobility. Certainly has been a priority. The community has installed Pass Along American Way, and there are certainly gaps in the system. It has put in, I'll say, crushed gravel paths to have, I guess, a more permanent surface to be used. But of course, I think we recognize that a gravel path is not as great as an asphalt path. So there are certainly projects that have been identified here that could be undertaken should dollars be available that check more boxes than just benefiting adjacent property owners.
Thank you.
Plan commissioners, do you have other questions or comments concerning this tax increment financing district?
Real quickly, staying in that same geographic location, finishing American Way out to Harvey Road, wasn't there a condition put on American Way limiting the size of the vehicles on it?
I'm not aware of a weight limit on American Way.
If we're going back many years, yeah, when there was discussions about stop controls on American Way, but at that time, I think it was evaluated that until it goes through, there was no real need to impose certain requirements in certain places. I'm not aware of, I wish the Public Works people were here, I'm not aware of a weight limit specifically. It is designed to support the weight of the traffic, because again, it is a secondary, tertiary entry into the industrial park, but getting people out to Harvey Road as a major collector is certainly important. I can't say that there might not be other conversations about truck traffic utilizing that roadway if it becomes more than the neighborhood is desirous of. Those are kind of policy conversations for the council.
I certainly hope not. because my next comment was gonna be purely the importance of the connection of CP Avenue to 89 with $4 fuel and, just time is of the essence with industry. That's gonna be one of the biggest driving factors of development in this area, just the ease of getting in there. And then, back to American Way extension to Harvey, I see no issue with American Way. However, I believe Harvey Road has a weight restriction on it because the condition of that road is terrible. And we have to haul down it to make homeowner deliveries with big trucks, only the size of garbage trucks. But the road is not the greatest right now. But that's not a major importance for the industrial park because they can come out on the other side of Brookstone. That's the more logical, entrance or exit on that end. But the sheer importance of connecting CP Avenue to 89 is going to be a really significant element of the industrial park, in my opinion.
All right, Planning Commissioners, are there any further comments or questions concerning this proposed district?
I'm just wondering if there's any risks associated with this. Risk?
Risk?
Yeah.
Not with the creation of the TID, no. Depending on the structure of incentive deals or development agreements that may be executed, there may be some level of risk to the city, but those will be on a case-by-case basis as those are negotiated between the city and the developer. There's certainly ways to mitigate risk when crafting development agreements. This TIF is largely designed as a pay-go TID, meaning that we would pay development incentives out of the increment generated by a project rather than fronting project costs. So if the project were to, if a company were to leave, if a project were to go defunct, the incentives would stop as well. So the payments out would cease, and so we wouldn't have liability beyond, because they would no longer be fulfilling their obligations. Our obligations would cease. So there are times where you may do upfront incentives, particularly related to infrastructure improvement or site development, that may occur on the front end, in which case you'd be paying back debt from the increment that's being generated, in which case there's some risk associated with it. But with the installation or development of infrastructure, at least the city retains the asset that it installed. So it doesn't lose, there's a hard asset attached to it that we retain, and still makes that property more shovel-ready or more developable or more ready for the next user if one were to leave.
If I can add, just the city has been very prudent in its use of tax increment financing over the almost 20 years I've been working with you. Some projects that have happened because of TIF, if you remember on 89 in Tyranina coming into town, the old Union 76 site was a environmentally contaminated site because of the old gas station, et cetera. TIF was used to remediate those grounds, and then obviously you have the I'll call it the new Walgreens that is out there, prominent with the clock tower there to kind of that sense of arrival. Extension of utilities to make the Lake Mills Market project go. Those were, again, agreements were structured with the private developer in the city before dollars were expended. Culvers also came out of that. On the south end of town, Mud Lake Road reconstruction was a part of a TIF number 5. And the Tyranina Point development, the redevelopment of Topals, which I think everybody can see has been an incredible asset at Sandy Beach Road, and also the redevelopment for the Drumlin Crossing development. There's been looping of water mains that have enabled those residential developments to happen. So again, I think this has been very, very prudent in using it. But unless the city does something contrary to what it has done historically, I would say the risk is very minimal, just because of the decision-making of city managers and city council when utilizing TIF.
Thanks. And then you said that 51% of this region would have to be industrial?
Yes.
And then is that up to 49% could be residential?
It could be residential, it could be institutional, it could be other things, but to qualify as an industrial TID, 51% of the land area needs to remain in an industrial capacity, industrial zoned.
Thank you.
And so that's not a very high bar to get over when you're in the middle of the industrial part.
Planning commissioners, are there any further comments or questions that you have concerning this proposed tax increment district? Would anyone like to make a motion concerning Resolution 24-1?
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-1. Mason.
Mr. Coots will second.
All right, Dr. Mason moved and Mr. Coots seconded to pass Resolution 24-1, approving boundary and project plan for tax increment financing district number 9. Any discussion? Okay. In that case, we'll proceed with a roll call vote.
Ms. Lazaris,
Aye.
Mr. Grady,
Aye.
Ms. Curler,
Aye.
Dr. Mason,
Aye.
Mr. Holman,
Aye.
Mr. Coots.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Our next item, item number 7, recommendation for future agendas. Now, as I understand, at this time, we were to talk about available times that we could meet for a special study session.
I think that some most recently, you should have received some dates from Madison. I don't know if she's received responses from everybody. We've been struggling to find a date for our work session, so if you haven't taken a look at those dates that have been presented, if you could do so soon and get back to her so we can find out if any of those work, and if they don't work, we can try some others. But we're having trouble getting full participation available. So, which we'd like to have is every commissioner there if possible. If not, we'll pick a date. But
All right.
I-
Well,
I-
the dates that were mentioned were May 6th, 8, and 9. I cannot myself be here on 8 and 9, but I would be able to be here on 6, May 6th. And I don't know about the rest of you, but, it sounded like her last email was we were going to kind of see if we could sort it out this evening yet. How does the calendar look for the rest of you?
I'm sorry, Pam, I just couldn't hear what you said as far as dates. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, she had mentioned May 6th, 8, and 9. And for me, I cannot be here 8 and 9. And I'm curious as to,
You said only, you could be there the 8th and the 9th, Pam?
I
You-
cannot.
You cannot? So only the 6th?
Only the 6th?
May 6th for me, yeah. So I was curious
The
about,
6th works for me.
I'm available on the 6th.
Any of them would work for me.
Yeah, any of them work for me too.
Any of them work for me, too.
sounds like May 6th would work.
okay, is there a preferred time?
What time do you want?
This is a work session.
Madison said earlier, right? A little earlier. Did she
Yeah.
suggest?
Like
Typically,
6?
typically work sessions are a little earlier.
6?
Well, she said, maybe she just mentioned possibly 5. But
5?
it's hard. Some people might not
Morning
get out
or
of
at
work.
night?
Night.
Pam,
She asked what time people could be
get there.
available, starting at 5, I
Yeah.
think, she wondered. What's the earliest that others can get here?
Yeah.
Or that anyone?
5 works for me.
Is 5 all right for everyone?
I can make 5. I'd rather do 6,
Oh.
but I can make 5.
Okay.
How long do you think this first work session will be involved?
I've never been very successful at predicting how long a meeting might take. Really, as long as it depends how the discussion goes, and and, what we choose to focus on. We usually don't go over 2 hours for a work session, usually an hour and a half.
I just meant that might help if it only goes to 8, let's say, if we start at 6, to help everybody be able to get there. I'm good. I'm
Is a
good.
later time better for you, Mr. Coots? Is a later time better for you than the 5 o'clock?
Be better?
5 would work, 6 would be better, but 5 is still possible, that's fine.
Why don't we have it at 6 o'clock? Would 6 o'clock be all right, everyone? Okay.
And what date?
It's on May 6th.
What,
May 6th.
6th, it's
The
a
6th?
Monday. It's Monday, May 6th, is what it is.
Has Mr. Foster given any input?
Mr. Foster gave notice to the clerk's office that he's not renewing his membership on the Plan Commission.
I see.
All right. Is there anything else that we should know about concerning future agendas at this time?
I just had a question about the work session. I think when we talked about having one, there was an offer from Mr. Daly that staff would put together some ideas of some of their recommendations. Is that right?
Correct.
So we'll have something as a starting point for our discussion then from staff.
That's correct.
Great, thanks.
If you have ideas, you're welcome to bring them as well, but we will have some items that we have come across that we think should be addressed in the zoning code.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, wonderful. All right. In that case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so move.
Mr. Coots will second.
It's been moved by Dr. Mason and seconded by Mr. Coos to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey.
Against? Are adjourned.